A group of design fiction practitioners explored how to ignite a creative renaissance through collective action by organizing immersive experiences, building prototypes, developing a shared language, and reinvigorating the value of creativity, and reminding ourselves of the power of the human creative consciousness and imagination. They aim to spread a vision of alternative futures and new ways of living and working in the world.
What was the main purpose of this conversation?
The main purpose of this conversation was to discuss how to better organize and coordinate the creative work of design fiction practitioners in order to ignite a renaissance in imagination. Specifically, the group explored ideas around developing a shared lexicon, organizing immersive workshops and events in different cities, and creating prototypes and artifacts to make this work more tangible. There were several specific ideas discussed, organizing immersive workshops and events in different cities to spread this work and inspire imagination, creating prototypes and artifacts to make this work more tangible, developing a shared lexicon to clarify the spirit of this work, by sharing creative ideas and artifacts to get people's attention and inspire imagination, then providing clear follow-up actions, serving as a field that helps projects organize their efforts and align around common goals and futures, connecting related creative efforts through web rings or online communities, dreaming, gathering, building, and completing, a cycle for translating dreams into reality.
What are 5 key takeaways for this session of office hours?
1. Collective action is needed to ignite a creative renaissance. 2. Organizing immersive workshops and events in different cities could help spread this work. 3. Creating prototypes and artifacts could make this work more tangible. 4. Developing a shared lexicon could clarify the spirit of this work. 5. Dropping peanuts that attract the attention of prospective fans, followers, and participants by sharing creative ideas and artifacts could inspire imagination if followed by clear next steps.
Copy.
You hear me?
Yes, I'm clear.
Am I coming in?
Sounds like even through the right mic.
Loud and clear.
Looks like an excellent space, Camille.
Wait, where's Camille? Oh, there
At
she is.
home, but my system comes with
lighting.
like streaming, blah blah blah. This is a computer background. This is NVIDIA Studio.
You're like properly like phasing in and out, like little edge glitches.
Oh yeah, a lot of edge glitches for sure.
I wonder if anybody's done relighting for those backgrounds. That would be good, so that you get that skylight
would
on
be
you.
good. Yeah, that would be some high fidelity, elaborate prank.
I have a friend who's a influencer thing, and she started doing these videos. I don't know, I just find them so like endearing and beautiful because they're so fucked up. Like from a video, like a cinematographic. Can you look at it? It's like I don't know what she's doing, but it's definitely a green screen thing. But she'll have in the background the green screen. I think it's a style. Like I don't think she's doing it. Well, I don't know. Maybe she's doing it on accident, but and she doesn't care. She loves the kind of willy nilly of it. So in the background, it'll be like, her thing is like Trader Joe's. So it'll be like Trader Joe's products, but they're huge because of the video. And she's like in front of them. She's like, check out this, whatever it is, these pickled olives.
Giant barbecue sauce as big as me.
Yeah, I was kind of jealous. I was like, man, that looks great. How do I do that? Yeah.
Things being the wrong size is hilarious. It's even better in like stereoscopic views in virtual reality or some other sort of holographic thing, so like on a looking glass or whatever else. Just because we are so accustomed to things being exactly the right size. I modeled this apartment a while ago, a few years ago, just to put things in a space and to be able to deal with fake augmented reality. And like eyeballing it, and actually using floor plans and stuff. It looked pretty good, and I had it working. Then I was looking at it in Blender in VR, and just the fact that like the toilet paper roll was 10% too big looked ridiculous. And so there's so much there where like there's going to be an incredible opportunity for a subtle sort of absurdity and comedy by jiggling the size and scale of these things in ways that if you weren't actually sort of really there, virtually really there, you wouldn't be able to register like just how off those things were. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that as a kind of a fixture of people's existence in these streaming spaces and things like that.
That's why I like Christmas decorations. Because some of them are just like so like the scale is just slightly off, like sort of too big to be understandable as human, like so it makes your house look like a gingerbread house.
Yeah, that's true. Those scale cues from like that's not for here. That's for a
Yeah.
mall.
Yeah, that's not the right size for a light bulb.
Hey,
So
Thomas.
Julian.
Oh, hey, Camille.
Oh no, I was gonna say, do you and Thomas want to give a little case report of the Imagine Harder Summit?
And Dre.
And Dre, yeah, but I haven't seen Dre's face yet, so he
That's not
could
his
be
face.
driving
I thought he looked
That's
like,
his
he
to
looked
or
like
from Canada somewhere,
Oh, is
listening
he
on his,
Are you driving, Dre?
I was driving. No, I'm not driving right now. I'm up on my island and I don't have a webcam with me today.
What?
No cameras on Dre's Island. Those are the rules.
Who knows what happens on Dre's Island?
Yeah, Dre's Island. It's like,
You thought Epstein's Island was crazy.
Oh, geez.
Dre Island. Isla del Dre.
Yeah.
What is Dre's Island?
You'll
I
never
have
know.
I have a place in Northern Ontario.
No, it's metaverse. It's a metaverse place. It's a voxel. It's a voxel land.
First, because it's surrounded by water.
I'm coming up there someday. God damn it.
Yeah, you should. I think you'd enjoy it. Super fun. Boat rides.
Yeah. Bring my old school sailor hat.
Bring your water skis.
And what they used to the denim flares. Remember the sailors used to wear those like trousers with those fantastic flared bottoms?
Well, you know why
Bell
they
bottoms.
did that, right?
No,
know
why
why
did
they wore
why'd
those
they
in
do
the
that?
Navy? It was to avoid metal shavings from getting in your boots because so many people in the Navy would do machining.
Machinist, damn it, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. It serves a practical purpose, and then it became fashionable.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would imagine, but and I love that because I actually when I said that I was like, why the hell did they do that? In the back of my head, and Camille just dropped some science. God damn. Thomas, what went on in Detroit? Curious of your
Yeah. Gosh,
gosh.
I've been trying to explain it. I think one aspect of it was I think a bunch of around 20 people like practicing various aspects of like I guess futures oriented design or creativity. I feel like the first day was like us kind of coming together or them coming together and talking about why it was important to them and what aspects of like the future they were worried about as it pertained to their work. And I think so the first day was like sharing like worries and wondering what we could do. And then the second day was like planning, like more actionable, like what do we do as a group? And then overall, I feel like it was just like important to kind of like bring all these different people together to kind of like practice this stuff in different ways. Kind of like, I think Julian talks about it often. I feel like the overall function was like, let's just like create an understanding that we'll push this kind of practice forward if we're all kind of aligned. And if we all are kind of doing this together and supporting each other and kind of like all gas, no braking this stuff.
Amplify, coordinate, collaborate.
Yes. And it was super fun. I think it really definitely helped to like all be in the same place together. Because I think it's easy from like thousands of miles away to be like, I disagree with that person's approach or something. But like, you're in the room with people who are like working within organizations. And it's like, okay, how do we push this from like the inside out? And then you're working with people who are outside of them or like independent, being like, how do we like grow this from the outside in? And then how do we overall like make imagination like a part of culture, like a part of like just like daily practice for everyone, and like weave this kind of work into the fabric of how things work. That was my after some days, like I think what happened. But I'm curious what Trey or Julian thinks as well.
I'm hella curious what Dre thinks.
I thought it was pretty fun weekend. I like the social stuff.
You're talking about the part where you went out and partied in Detroit on Saturday and Sunday, right?
I didn't really party. If you mean like watching like YouTube, I partied like crazy. I was pretty tired. I had some pretty early nights. I did manage to hit Trader Joe's and get some ghost pepper chili grinder, which I can't get here in Canada. So I bought the last one on the shelf.
You smuggle it across? Get through okay?
I did. I just told them they were like, do you have anything to declare? And I said, yeah.
Ghost peppers. What is that? A new kind of meth from Detroit? What?
Yeah. So the Imagine Harder Summit was really great. It was great to be surrounded with really like smart and motivated people. It was great having. The dinners were great. Everyone was fantastic, and had some really spirited conversations, and was able to tuck into some interesting subject and just have good personal conversations. So I felt like I even made a few friends in the process, and I've already had a few like DMs with people outside of that. And what I got from it was I didn't bring a moleskin. I really wish I brought my moleskin. So I was taking notes on loose flashcards and stuffing my pockets with flashcards with all kinds of interesting ideas. So I got all kinds of good ideas for what I'm doing with Design Fiction Daily. But I also collected a bunch of ideas as obviously you collected all of them, Julian, that were on the floor. That process was really great.
I think Elliot took those.
Oh, he took them, but I think you captured with like the camera. There was a lot of documenting going on. I did shoot a little bit, but I found that it was taking me out of the moment. Like I wasn't participating, so I'd shoot when it was.
That's why I brought Marcus. That's why I brought Marcus. I was like, I gotta.
So it looks like there's a lot of great footage taken there, but I think I have a couple of nice slow motion clips. I shot some slow mo footage. So when I get back to my battle station this weekend, I'll rip them up and send them over so that they might be useful B-roll for you.
Yeah, definitely, that'd be great.
And then the other thing that I did is on the Sunday I went to the Henry Ford Museum of American Innovation.
I love that museum. That's a great fucking museum.
Did you connect with Mark, or did you just do that independently?
I did chat with Mark about it during the summit, and he said, "Yeah, just give me a call and let me know, and I'll hook you up." But I didn't grab his number, and I didn't want to bother him. It was Sunday; it's his day off, So I thought I'm just going to pay the admission fee. And we went to the Museum of Innovation, and it wasn't what I expected. I really thought it was going to be a lot more Ford centric. I didn't realize it was going to be holistically American innovation. It was great. It was so inspiring. I highly recommend that everyone do that. And I didn't even go to the village part, which is supposed to be mind
Oh
blowing.
yeah, the village part.
I just did the main kind of interior exhibit. So Mark did talk about possibly doing something with the Imagine Harder Summit next time around
I think
at
we're
the
gonna do it
museum.
there in later this year, like this winter.
Yes,
I guess it's
I'm there. I'm totally there. And Museum of Innovation, it was so inspiring because this one glass booth of just telephones. They had all kinds of telephones, rotary phones and old, I don't know, that looked like Morse code phones. And then they had a couple of like the Motorola StarTAC phones, like the proper original OG flip phone. They had the original cell phone. They have an iPhone 1 on display. And it just made me think of, what does this look like in the context of design fiction? What happens if you take the Museum of Innovation and you start collecting archetypes or artifacts around archetypes, and creating a museum of design fiction where we can show multiple people's work all in on a shelf, similar to how all these phones were on display.
Hmm.
Yeah, highly recommend checking it out. It was super inspiring, tons of fun, and really cool stuff. I took pictures, a lot of neon signs, Camille. They had some good, proper neon there, which was really cool.
You could control the college level industrial design classes for models output, because those things are, treasures to the maker. But if you had a destination for that work that was, there's some really amazing models that get made in those classes, and they could become a category of design fiction in a sense.
Yeah, 3D model as
No, actual artifacts.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you want actual artifacts.
Yeah, sorry,
So
I was thinking of a 3D model that could be printed or manufactured, and then the manufactured artifact being something. I think that's a great idea.
what I'm saying is that these industrial design classes are prototyping and making up designs for their future, their imagined future. They're going down the rabbit hole for a month on a product line, and then producing collections of artifacts. You might be able to skim that world for materials
Yeah,
instead
absolutely.
of just print. Is sort of, there's a trove there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you like manufacturing museums, I highly recommend visiting the Kohler Museum in Wisconsin, in Kohler, Wisconsin, also.
Yeah, I worked with the head of design there back in the day at HOK Architects. She went on to Kohler. They have a cool artist in residence program, actually.
Yeah, they do. Actually, I know someone who's in it right now. Yeah. But yeah, it's in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, which is also where they make all the ink that goes on the neon beer signs. Because most of the like classic beer signs are actually made in white and then it's dipped in a color after the fact instead of normally how most custom neon is made. So, random facts.
The Kohler has the largest kilns, some of the largest ceramic kilns in the country. That's what intrigues me.
the whole point for that summit. It was I don't know, just kind of got the I just wanted to get people in a room because I felt like I wasn't feeling. I felt like it's almost like I want to get people in a room and I want to kind of tell them like, look, we're all after the same thing. We're all trying to create, um, in our various ways, and create through the potential we recognize of humans to imagine new kinds of worlds. And we're all doing it in our own ways. Um, but we're not doing it in lockstep. We're not collective in it. We know each other and we're friends and stuff, but we need, some of the things, I think one of the mails I sent out to people, I just sent out these mails to, I don't know, there were like 24 people I wanted to get in a room, something like that. And I said, we need like our got milk. Like we need a campaign almost. We need a way to operate and coordinate what we're doing. And I felt like a little bit of, it wasn't a complaint, but it's like I felt like a little bit of a burden because I felt that so strongly, and it's what I've been trying to do, like with the podcast and with office hours and with the Discord, and then inviting many of those people into to broadcast out what they're doing on the on the podcast, and it became intensely frustrating to me that it wasn't coming back in a way. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like, you're supposed to just be like, whatever, do your thing. But I was like, no, we need to do it together. I can't do this on my own. And there's a real, there's a real need for it. And the people who I invited, I just had a sense, some of them I'd only met like a few weeks before, but I had a real sense that they had the energy and they were sort of felt at the vanguard, but it's just like they needed someone. I think they needed someone to say like, stop, we need to work together. How can we kind of collectivize, because we're all just like little small operators. None of us is like has huge influence or something. Matter of fact, the opposite. We're like too humble for our own good. But we're in these positions where, to one degree or another, we have our network is just a little bit bigger, but together we have this potentially a huge network. And so that was my main motivation. It's just like, if we don't do this, we're in for a lot of hurt. We're just going to be wondering why isn't this futures thing taking hold, or why is it taking a hold in a way that is not taking into account like our values and our principles and desires and ambitions to make the world a more habitable place. And so when I sent out the mail, I had no idea what was going to happen or what this thing was going to be. There was no agenda. It was basically like I likened it to something unexpected that one person does. So there was a lot of musical metaphors, like, and jazz was one metaphor. And one thing it says like, if Miles Davis calls you up and he says, "Hey man, I rented some studio space. Thursday at 8 p.m. be there." Like, people are going to be there. They don't know what's going to happen, but they know like this is going to be great. And I'm not likening myself to Miles Davis. Or when Dylan plugged in and went electric, like everything changed. And I told people, it's like, this is the moment when everything changes. So be there in Detroit on whatever on the 22nd, 23rd. It'll be fantastic. And everyone except two people were like, hell yeah. But the two people were the complicated people. There was a column that said complicated, beautiful people, but they're like, well, what's the agenda and what's going to come out on the other side of it? It's just like, fuck you. You're done. You're not invited anymore. Hey, I'm having a barbecue at my house. Well, what are you going to serve? No, never mind. There's no barbecue. Hey,
So-
Miles, but what are we going to play? I don't know. It's kind of Thursday nights, usually a little bit busy. I like to watch reruns of Succession. I don't know if I can make it. Give me a reason to come. Fuck off.
I want to jump in and it, three things, Julian. One is acknowledge you, because you are doing that. You are creating the place, even if it's frustratingly slow. That's happening. You're making the place where people see the future. So good going. The second thing is the medium sucks. Like, so we can't reach each other and we don't know what's going on. And so that decentralized aspect is suffering because we're still centralized. And then the third thing was, do you remember John Perry Barlow's Barlow Fests? Were you on that list?
No.
So he used to fly around the country. He was part of the EFF, and so he had a big following, and he would just
I totally
fly
remember.
in.
I remember when he came by the Hit Lab.
Yeah. So he would had an Barlow Fests. He would just say, "I'm going to be in New York. There's going to be a Barlow Fest." And he would find some place to have the party, and freaking 300 people would show up. And he had one about every month because he was somewhere every month, and sometimes there were 2 or 3 of them in a city if it was a big city. So he would create options for people. But Arlo Fest were definitely a thing, and it was done all pure on email. You know, there was just an email list for it, and I think the medium is the sort of the problem because the communication is just so challenging, and the decentralized coordination, and there's no principles, or so you're creating that place where those principles can be hung on the wall at least. Maybe we need a GitHub repository.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do feel that. As a matter of fact, I think I mentioned when I was kind of nervously giving my introductory ramble about why we're here. I mentioned that it was a few years ago. It was definitely the far side of the pandemic, I think. And I was walking, spent the day with Tony Dunn and Fiona Raby. They were in town, and we just had an amazing day walking around. And I said something, I can't remember what it was. I think probably said like, man, I just wish that there was some place or sense of community where this, blah 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 blah. And one of them, I think it was Tony, just looked at me. He's like, you're already doing it, just in case you don't recognize. And I remember when he said that, I was kind of like, very funny. And then, but it took a couple years later to be like, oh, he was absolutely serious and absolutely right. But I just didn't recognize it, because you feel like, I don't know, it's just a weird feeling to be in a place where you can't see what you're doing outside of it. And I think that's like a testament to like maybe it sounds like I'm not humble, but I think it's a testament to a particular kind of humility that I think I have and very many other people have, where they're just like, no, I'm not the one. I'm not the one.
It's
And now it just makes me realize,
quietly
like,
swirling around you too, so you're at the center of the whirlpool. Maybe you
yeah,
don't see the traffic around it.
yeah. This is gonna sound even like I'm more of an asshole, but the moment in the action film where people are like, no, you're the one. You never realized it. What is it? It's like Neo or something in the
Yeah,
Matrix.
that the brilliance of those movies is that line is spoken directly to every single person in the audience individually somehow.
Yeah.
Everybody
It's
feels
been
it.
it's been you all along.
Yeah, the tragedy of ego.
Yeah. And I guess the people who know that it's them already, or say that it's them already, are the ones you kind of got to be nervous about. I spoke to God. Okay. I'm going to get off on this stop.
No, God spoke to me.
Yeah. Does that help, Camille?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just, curious and wanted an overview.
Yeah.
I'm not
So, I
asking
mean,
for an agenda.
it was kind of it was meant to be sort of a more of a like, let's just get a few people together and let's figure things out. But just, does this make sense? What's the shape of this?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Maybe.
honestly, like I want to say something culturally insensitive and call it a powwow. But culturally insensitive.
Yeah, it was like and the plan is, I think, so Will Carey, who was there, we were following up. He helped me kind of actually put some kind of loose agenda together, and he facilitated, which was amazing. Um, it was kind of like planning for the festival. I used the metaphor of a festival, and maybe it is literally a festival, but it's more like the more expansive thing. So this wasn't like, I didn't want it to be like, okay, this will only be like ever a closed group kind of thing, but I just wanted like the steering committee or something, or people who I could rely on, who I knew already are or would put in energy into it without me kind of begging and that kind of thing. We're going to do it anyway, and
Totally.
would be generative of ideas. But then there's a bunch of like little actions that came out of it. So one was like a bunch of folks are really actually excited about and going to do the work to put together something that might be like a just like another drop, and it's like a lexicon. We said dictionary, but it was like around that, like the new language, another point of entry, nothing that's supposed to be definitive, but more just kind of like clarifying and giving a sense of what is the spirit of this, and could that be framed in a way that just becomes a little seed for, I mean, I see the potential for like a renaissance. And so is this like one of those components of that sort of gives a sense of like, oh wait, something's going on. And then there was another one like so a bunch of the folks who are faculty at one university, another in a design department. One guy, he's in the Discord. He's actually going to Madison. He was teaching UW, University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, and he got a new post in Madison. Essentially, like I don't know if it's a full-on department or like a track or like a what do they call them? It's
Dean, chair.
it wasn't a post so much as like like a group affiliation within there, but it's a proper post. That is like, he's like, this is what I want to do. I want to teach speculative design, design fiction, and he's like, there's an audience for it, for students, and so a bunch of us were talking, sort of, they do this beautiful kind of sheepish thing. It's like, so that's what we're trying to do, and just trying to, Julian, just wondering, what would it take to have you come out and do a lecture? And I was like, fuck you, a lecture is easy. We got to do something more. Like, sure, I'll come out and do a lecture. That's not a problem at all. But it's like, let's turn it to 11. Like, what is the like the half day or one day, immersive, kind of more immersive thing. Like, let's do a workshop or something, or find the way to really, like 40-minute lecture. It's like, first of all, it's like, I'm not going to fly across the country for a 40-minute lecture. And don't tell me like, we'll also do a dinner, because that doesn't, I got to eat, but it's not a big deal. Fuck it, I'll just, worst case, and just take out pizza. I don't care. But we got to do something real. We got to do something substantial, something that where, I want, if students are going to come to this, or, faculty can come to this, I want them to come away with the sense of like, oh my God, this is, we got to figure out how can I integrate this into my economics class? How does this become like just adding something to the curriculum of whatever, in the business school? So, like plan that, because the lecture, some people might be like, a little bit tired this afternoon, I'm not going to go to that. Or you start losing out. So like 11. And then, weirdest thing ever, not weird, maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe we're just all putting out good energy. Like some guy, I don't know, he kind of found out about us. He's up in Sausalito, and I had a coffee call with him, and I was like, who's this character? And he's got a design studio up there, does a lot, he's been, 15 years doing product design, has worked with like everyone, fair sized team, like 12 industrial designers and manufacturing experts and that kind of stuff. And he's kind of like, I'm, kind of trying to figure out how to do more with this, with what we do as a team. And he, did the same sheepish thing. It's like, well, I'm going to be, a friend of mine is whatever over at the D school. And, I was thinking about proposing like a, maybe not a full class, but maybe like a 4-week kind of thing. I don't know, do you think, you could come and maybe just, I don't know, do like a lecture one of the days? And again, I was like, fuck you, that's too easy. What can we really do? Because we gotta, we gotta change shit. We gotta work on this hard. And he said, he feels the same thing, even, from his team. They're kind of like, yeah, it's getting a little bit boring now. Like, oh, cool, another medical device. And he's talking about, like, he was saying, like, we can actually make stuff here. And I mentioned to him the F91W. He had a good laugh about that. He's like, oh man, that'd be cool. He's like, yeah, I got a team. We can build shit. And I explained to him how we do things in drops, and he got really excited. So I think, you just gotta keep putting it out there. And then it starts coming back, and then you feel good. And you make some change, you make a change in the world.
Energy never disappears, right? It just transforms.
Yeah, just gotta make sure it doesn't transform into gin and tonics at night or something. It's just gonna get numb the pain. You gotta feel the pain of what you want to do. You gotta go through it.
Yeah, real action.
Yeah.
I really like the suggestion of sort of a faintly Barlow-fest approach to being able to kind of collect and raise excitement in centers at times. If that's, so like Detroit sounds like it was a really excellent thing to collect people to go and do, but sort of if you felt like it, making like quarterly or monthly trips to places where you've actually gotten some folks interested enough to do an extra amount of groundwork in an area will help a lot, I think, to be able to get that all of the people at the periphery to be able to be aware that this is a thing, and to look at and listen to, and for those even more committed few to escalate into involvement. But at the very least, I mean, it sounds like it's kind of, it reminds me of I've been reading a lot about obviously cognitive neuroscience and cognitive cognitive philosophy, and it went through this kind of moment in the 1980s when people didn't think that it was necessary, and then there was a lot of work by folks to try to recognize the mutual legibility of the different itches that people were scratching. And yeah, I think that getting around and turning, like making events and moments that people can kind of connect to each other in places, as well as possibly an annual event or location that has the symbol, like I think it's all about the symbolism and the meaning that can be derived from these specific sort of carve outs that everybody can try to collect their energy into. So I would be really excited in trying to help that along. So if you wanted to come up to the Bay Area, and we can, like, there is a ton of people up here.
Hell yeah.
Like, let's talk about like what an event, like a capital E event, like booking a venue, talking, getting people to stand around and doing that. Bay Area every 6 months, but like other places like Wisconsin has some things going on. Like I think that'll be really cool, and I think it would really help shift that moment, that legibility. Like you have talked a lot with folks, like with Bell and other people about the Macy's conference, and like something that I didn't get until your conversation with Bell was just like, it was random as shit. Like it was just this thing that happened, and now we see it as this kind of this sober, serious thing that had to happen and was important. And like, no, it wasn't. It was just getting people together and being like, hey, you want to talk about this cybernetics thing?
That's
so like
the vibe. That's
you know
the
what I
vibe.
mean? Like,
And that's
cool.
exactly why, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just so exciting to hear you reflect on that, because that was the vibe. So I was in Detroit like a few months ago, or maybe 4, something like that. A friend of mine's is dean of architecture and design at this Lawrence Technological University, just a little university. It's actually right next to Cranbrook, beautiful. So he said, hey, can you come out and give a lecture? He just called me up. We give a lecture to students. And so I was like, okay. And then I arranged a couple other things while I was there. Friends at University of Michigan. I was out there maybe 3 days. And he's like, I want to put you up in the Affleck house. I was like, cool. I'd been there once before when I was out there. Cool mid-century modern house. And I was so jazzed after giving this lecture because I just felt so much energy from the students. You can read people, like as you guys know. So you're looking at them, you're kind of like, okay, they're all on their iPhones and stuff. And when things kicked off, I could just see them just like sinking into this. And I don't know what I was saying, but whatever it was, it connected. They were feeling it. And so a bunch of students came back for the dinner, which was, just a bunch of, takeout Middle Eastern. And we were talking, and I was just feeling so much energy. And my friend Carl, the dean, said like, so what do we do next? And I think he was just kind of like, I don't think he was like thinking, he wasn't getting out battle plans, but he's like, what, or maybe it was even like, what's next for you, Julian? I was like, we're going to do a summit, and it's going to be right the fuck here in this house. And part of that was just because I was feeling back to that, those old photos, and, and people were, they're always white men, but okay, let's forgive that. But they were at a place to get something done, and converse and commune, and there are a bunch of places where when I go there I feel that. But this seemed right. It's like it's a Frank Lloyd Wright house. Like it was a moment that this was just the layout and the feel of it is just beautiful, and it's not the Hilton ballroom, ballroom A.
It's a gorgeous campus.
Yeah, and so that was That's what I told him. And a matter of fact, I'll tell you a secret. So I, you know, as this thing is like, it's not a secret, but it was several weeks that I had to organize this because we picked a date because it just schedules and calendars, and it definitely wasn't going to be like, nah, let's look into 2024. What's your calendar look like? It's like it's got to happen, signed, clear calendars, whatever it needs to take. But there's no agenda, so that you know that freaks some people out in the dean's office. They're like, what do you mean no agenda? Who's coming? And Carl was just like, take it easy. He's gonna take it easy. It's Julian. It's gonna be great. And everyone's like, okay, cool. And I one of the things that, so I was like, it's a thing. I got to put together a swag bag. So I like really quickly made like tote bags, and my intent was, I just couldn't happen quickly enough, was to, I had it all set to go, but it wasn't going to get there in time. I commissioned a bunch of you know, Mad Men era smoking pipes, and it was just going to have a light little engraving that said, "Imagine harder." And the image I had in my head was like everyone in the group photo with a pipe. I might still do that. Keep that one there. Keep that
So
one.
one thing that made we tried to have potlucks for a while, and it just didn't work. And it was because we were changing the dates up, and nobody was aware of it was Wednesday or Friday or Sunday. I think if you blocked out like a goal of 6 future fests a year and you scheduled those so that they were in different cities, you would find some people flocking to them, other people just knowing the event was epicenter was going to be regional. So like I
Foo
think that
Camp was the other one. You guys remember Foo Camp? It was like O'Reilly's thing. O'Reilly, the publisher. You can Google it. It's like a Wikipedia page, but it was like basically an unconference. It was just a bunch of. They were up in Sebastopol, yeah, up north, and they just had a campus, and you would just basically bring your tent. You get invited, you bring a tent, but it was where all like the alpha geeks went, to just share what they were working on. Like, hey, I'm working on. You know, people would introduce their new, um, you know, site. Some of them became epic. You know, like I mean, like
Yeah.
Cal Henderson and Stuart Butterfield. I remember them sort of scratching their head and wondering about what they were going to do after Flickr. You know, so
oh,
it was like really
Yeah,
interesting.
New Zealand still does Kiwi food, and they're
Matt
they're
Torkington.
often. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been invited to a couple, but not able to make it, and now I haven't been invited again since I can get back. But maybe I'll see if I can swing one, because it would be fun to see everybody there. But yeah, it's a great format. It's a really interesting way of collecting people who are interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I used to, I mean, just getting back to it, even I just so much enjoyed when we did have backyard barbecues, doing backyard barbecues. Jed probably remembers coming to some of those. And it would just be,
my heart rate went up when you said a week long in camping. I just want to.
yeah, I love that too. I mean, so the other thing is, we're, the Imagine Harder Festival, I think it will have its first iteration in Tokyo in the spring. So people are like planning that.
I forgot to tell you, I just came back from a festival, which I've been to 4 times, called Imagine. And it's up on Orcas Island. And it's honestly a great event. You could just put this kind of concept into the soup of it, and everybody who wanted to could show up and have Imagine Harder event at the Imagination. And it would be awesome. It's a whole, like, this is, you know, just look, search it. It's on Orcas Island. If you search Imagine Orcas, you'll find it. And but yeah, total free flowing festival of upscale hippies.
Yeah.
I have a question, Julian. I'm wearing my hat for you.
You're right.
There
Thank you.
go.
Yeah. Tara and I we're sitting right next to each other at this event. I had no idea.
I knew it was him, but it was a very like quiet. It was a small event, so I didn't want to
Yeah.
be
And
like, "Hey, it's Taryn."
yeah, I came late with a dog. So people are kind of like, oh, who's this guy? Jesus. And get up and bumping into people. Excuse me.
So, because I think a lot about this too, just in what Camille was saying about, break down the silos. Julian, are you looking in a way to be that node that sort of connects all these existing groups that are already doing sort of parallel work? Or are you looking to sort of radiate out and grow the existing group and sort of create more cohesion there?
I'm trying to sense the distinction.
Um,
Maybe say it again using different words or
so,
examples, metaphors.
um, metaphor. I guess sort of from like a golden web perspective of um, creating energy and synthesis and awareness between existing entities that are doing similar or parallel work. So, in being like an amplifier or an energizer, or is it that what you already have existing, you want to inject some sort of an enzyme to make it, grow and expand even further? And does that like then encompass existing places, or like I know what the ultimate goal is sort of altruistic. We want to imagine and then create sort of better futures for people. But I've been finding, and I come up against sort of entities that have parallel goals to my sirens group, and I try to help them just like I want to help share what you're doing, this like initiative or this story project or something. And there's no ever reciprocity. And I try to connect other two groups, and they're like, oh, well, no, this is our mandate, and we kind of don't play with this other group very well. And I'm like, but you're all kind of trying to do the same thing, and it seems so counterproductive.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that.
And so I'm like, maybe I should just be like the connector, the networker, where I'm like trying to create some sort of a platform that elevates everything that everybody's doing and makes them aware of each other. Or maybe I just dig in harder to what I'm trying to do and be encouraging and supportive of others, but not try to be such a facilitator between them.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because yeah, there's the connecting people who are doing related things to each other and convincing them with from within the sort of that nascent group that it is a group, and then there's the sort of the elevation to the outside world, like this is a group, they are the same, and they kind of have to happen together. One thing that I mean, I don't know about other disciplines, but like something that I struggle with is that not to blow my own trumpet, but I'm pretty personally productive, and so I don't want to be like a manager or promoter of other people as much because like I get too much good stuff done, and I think that similarly for you, Julian, you might be too good at design fiction to be able to just do the sort of the connective role that would be really well served to somebody who's like really enthusiastic about it, but isn't that good at it. And so I'm curious if there are if you like if you found people who could also help who like don't do it but love it, then that would be a really useful function to be able to kind of help draw the sort of attention to the other centers where it's happening, or to do the connection between them. Like I think that there are sort of a few different roles that somebody could role play in terms of being the most visible practitioner, the connector between practitioners, and the sort of the speaker for the practice as a whole. And they feel pretty distinct. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I don't. I get what you guys are talking about for sure, and I'm pretty sure I think about it as well. I mean, it's what you said, Brandel, really resonated. It's like, do you do it too well to be the connector, or something like they're distinct.
I would offer that the Barlow Fest concept was a weekend long event from Barlow's time. He wrote an email he posted it to a list. It was very low overhead from his side. It did throw a lot of the problem to whoever was on the ground to organize so he could walk in and do the thing. So maybe there's a way of decoupling it a bit by that's why I think if you formalize it just a little bit and say, hey, can we do one of these at your place? Here's what the last one looked like. We need X, Y, and Z people to, we know what it looks like, and we send it out to the mailing list, and it's going to be 600 people, usually 50 people hit or whatever.
I think some of that's happening. Like, so the Tokyo thing just kind of, it literally, some people from Tokyo were in the studio from IDEO in Tokyo, and they were just in town, just wanted to visit. And
there you go.
And they
and that
were,
might be enough. Like, what if you find out about an event that's happening and you want to say, hey, a week later, we're going to do this because this is in town and we're going to throw down, and then a bunch of people are going to bleed over to the event for the party or whatever. Then you have to sort of formalize what your artifacts, giveaways, and the activities that you do there, so you have a little bit of a routine. You can make it easier on yourself once again.
Yeah. That was also one of the things that it was like create the conditions for like for food camp. It was just basically like, you can camp anywhere on the on our campus. And here are a bunch of whiteboards and here are a bunch of rooms. See you guys later.
The thesis here is that innovation occurs in a place, and you can move that place around.
Yeah.
And the people that you bring together to that place is where the magic be.
Yeah, it's sort of like when I think of like an Imagine Harder festival, there is a component of it's like that. It's like, here are going to be some headliners, and then there's going to be like a workshop stage, and bring your instrument and see what happens.
Well, there's something cool too about, I was having this little jam in my head about, like, what if it was like the Ren Fair, but we didn't know where we were going till we got there. We collectively decide a future we want to try to manifest, and then everybody goes off and fabs pieces for a week, and by the end of the party we have amazing party armor and celebrate that moment in the future we just built and live in for a week. Like, just frickin' construct the whole world while you're there as a workshop, and then have a moment in it where everybody's, there's a thing that happens at the burn which is very intangible, where everybody's putting energy into the basin in their own way. They're paying it forwards. They're having fun. They're laughing. They're giving a little bit. But over the course of time, the entire field fills up with so much freaking energy that no matter where you go, something amazing is happening somehow. And it's unlike normal reality. And it only happens because of that generosity and immediacy of each person. And so, the festival word somehow causes that in people. When I was playing with birds a lot, my way of asking the question you were asking at the beginning of this is, what's the peanut? The peanut is the thing the birds see. If you drop it, they see that, and they are magnetically turned to see that falling object. It's really wild, actually. And so when you drop that peanut, they can't help but organically turn. And they want that. As soon as they see or know that that's a real peanut, there's a chase racing to the center for the peanut, and they all compete. And that vortex coming in, they're all sensitive to, and they all respond to that. And the ones down the block fly in. And then, what is the freaking peanut? That was the way I was asking the question.
The same thing comes up with downhill skateboarding events. You get 300 people together in the middle of the mountains to go up and down a hill together, and there's one event organizer, but they have their ride or die, right? So that because you need to have somebody who's your backup, and you got to have your people who are going to throw hay, and your people who are going to drive up the hill, and you got to have your people at the registration booth and all this stuff, and everybody comes out there, basically makes no money to do it, but they're all walking away with something, right? Whether it's, some people don't even skate, right? To that earlier point, but a lot of people are there to get their runs with their friends. Some people are there to race, get faster. Some people are there to ride in dresses or ride tricycles and stuff like that. But there's a peanut there. And what it is for us, it's like it's the closed road, right? Like there's no traffic on the hill. That's what distinguishes it from normal life. That plus the fact that you've got sort of this critical mass thing going and a sort of cadence of rides up the hill. But there is sort of a necessary rhythm that people like, yeah, there's a beat to it, right? Not so much a climax, especially because I think actually we found that a race is sort of a poor way to organize an event because there's a narrative there of producing a single winner, right? So when you have a narrative that instead, makes everybody sort of the champion of their own journey, that becomes a lot more fun and ultimately becomes more profitable too, because more people want to participate in that story. But yeah, it's self-fulfilling at a certain point. Good organizers get good social capital, and then other people want to come and continue helping out, and it doesn't happen without ride or dies, right? But then there are some people who can't afford to come unless they work right up until the event and then fly in just for the event itself and then fly home. So it takes all kinds. Some people can show up and be the first ones there and the last ones to leave. But finding a way to make all of those people feel equally valid, and essential along the way is a hard job to do. But yeah, so I mean that question of whether or not that you want to be that sort of rallying person at the head of it, Julian, or whether there are we all event organizers or are we all members of a single organizer's event vision?
Or is the event lightweight enough it doesn't take much to organize? Like flash crowds, if the concept was there, it just everybody is self-reliant on bringing their piece to the party, and a potluck.
Yeah, we have that here in the city, like our weekly sessions, like we're like, where are we going? And somebody has an idea and then we all show up and we have a great time, and it doesn't rely on any one person to make it happen. And it feels more durable that way too, when it doesn't, circulate around a single vision.
These are the decentralized principles that we need to sort of form into a set of practices or something.
It's not like you can have a dinner party with 10 people and then you can have a wedding with 250. They're like different things.
Yeah. It wouldn't be that.
It's not an either or type situation. I don't know. Like we've talked about the Coachella of design fiction. That's like a different thing than what happened last weekend. That's not
Is that primer?
No, it's not. It's not
No,
primer.
no. That's something that we're doing.
It's called. First of all, it's called something different. It's a different organization, different group with different set of agendas that I'm not opposed to. Like I love those guys. It's just it's different. It's like saying,
Totally.
So you get it. It's like, isn't Coachella just like the Horde Festival? It's like, no, it's not. Just because they have musicians, is that I'm not pointing to you in particular, but this also happens. Like someone will say like, isn't design fiction just like UX design? It's just like, oh my God, it's exhausting. It's called something different, so it's not. You're making a category error. It's called a category error. That's what you're doing. Aren't butterflies birds? I mean, look, really. They
both fly.
Wings. Yeah, they fly. And they migrate, so I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's something that like Bill Buxton, who I think he might be retiring, but he was the chief scientist for Autodesk and when it was Alias Wavefront and things, and then at Microsoft, he gets very annoyed at people saying that everyone is a designer. Like everyone can participate in design. That does not make them a designer. Design is a profession and it's a craft that contains responsibilities and disciplines of what people are looking at and the ways that they are sort of approaching things.
Like everyone's a plumber. Everyone's a plumber because everyone flushes the toilet.
Exactly. And so I think like the Coachella of design fiction is a thing that has places for people to appreciate what design fiction is and maybe participate in it, but there needs to be a place which is actually the sort of the ground zero for the practice and sort of demonstration of the design fiction as a process, rather than just being able to kind of marvel at the outcome.
I put in the office hours chat log something I think may be helpful in terms of how to think about this. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sea Ranch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but they have a good sort of Sea Ranch principles, just yes and no, right? Where it's like we're not having to define like all of the sort of sides of what it is, but we're saying what it's not. And we're saying kind of in contrast to that, which is maybe a nice way to think about it instead of constantly like comparing it to other things. So then it falls into sort of like a pastiche or a parody of those things.
What's the peanut?
I gotta jump, and I don't want to steer the conversation away, but I'm gonna plug my own project real quick. I'm putting, if you're in the Bay Area and happen to be near Crane Cove, I'm putting up like a immersive theater experience around the cove. So I'm like wheat pasting a bunch of images around that you can scan with your phone, and then it should take you into another world. So if you want to have a fun afternoon or just like give me feedback on it, or just enjoy yourself, it'll be there. And
when is
When
it?
is it? When is it?
Well, I'm
Great.
pasting tonight, and it'll be up as long as the cops don't, or
What's the
city.
physical side?
Maybe this weekend. Okay.
It'll be up. I think it'll be up longer than the weekend, but the physical side of it is the actual posters that I'm pasting, and then there's like codes hidden in clouds that you can scan, and then there are video animations of the posters coming to life. So it's like I guess exploring like
using
kind of
WebVR?
like theater experience. No, these are just like 2D animations right now. I've only had like a week and a half to do this, so
Okay. Well, we should talk tools later offline.
yeah,
Cool.
I would love to.
Good work.
You gotta document it, right? So you can share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I'll gas no brakes this as well, but I know that at least 5 of us in this meeting are in the Bay Area, so
Yeah, I'll try to make a trip up for it. And maybe
yeah. No, I mean,
make my daughter look at it.
if you're in the city, yeah, she would have fun.
If you send me the site and everything, I'm going camping this weekend, unfortunately, but I would love to check it out. But yeah, just if you post it somewhere
Yeah.
in the Discord, I'll check it out.
Wait, Chris is here? When did you show up?
I snuck in the back end.
Whoa.
I'm standing right behind you, Julian, the entire time.
All right, see you, everybody.
See you, man.
All right.
I think the peanut might be something around like imagination or creativity, or because those are the key words and the language around it. At least when I'm able to get in the mode of delivering it with a bit of evangelical fire, that's the thing that made the students go like, whoa.
You feel the resonance when you drop it.
Yeah, so I think it's around that, and that's I think the keywords around that I was able to put in that, really, I think, humbly powerful but vague email that I sent to 24 people who then on their own dime showed up in Detroit. And like,
the future's vague. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was vague insofar as, I mean, when I think of vague, I'm thinking like, what? Yeah, there was no like, okay, we're going to start at 8 a.m. and we'll have coffee and there'll be, please fill out this form for your dietary needs. Like there was none of that. It was just basically.
I just saw a day on your website, like April Fool's Day, where your whole website was blurry, and then as you drag the mouse around, you can have fun.
Collection mode on sample 1, and we got 11 minutes left in that particular mode.